Okay, welcome back. My Let's Play of Disco Elysium on the PC. We are on a small island or islet, um, off the coast of Martinez, and we're here looking for where the shot came from that killed the man, Lely. After sleeping on this bed, I had this crazy vivid dream where I was talking to my ex, and she really wants absolutely nothing to do with me, which is nice. And we're gonna move on. You see candles planted on a broken rangefinder. Books and magazines lie scattered on the floor and on a makeshift cupboard. They are not particularly well organized. Sift through them. Most are soft covers, serialized fantastique in detective stores from the 20s and the 30s. This disparate digest includes the classic Animal Adventures. Popular depictions of man versus nature by amateur naturalist T. Harpin, husband and wife. Widely read by people from all walks of life. Who doesn't like nature? Who doesn't want to survive? Among what is mostly commercial fiction and serialized stories, you find a magazine cathodic for electrical engineering. And it's back to pulp, light erotica, an international thriller about circuit benders. Someone's made themselves a home. Lieutenant inspects a softcover. Does anything stand out as unusual? Not that you can tell. This is a digest of someone who's dead bored. Most of it is for entertainment purposes. Fittingly, right next to the radiola on the floor. Nothing out of the ordinary? Maybe it's a little old-fashioned. There's a nude mag? More than that you can't say. Really? What if I put a point into conceptualization? I thought so. Oh yes. Under the bed there is a rather extensive collection of critical theory, that is, dour, life non-affirming left-wing literature, published by small imprints such as Abattoir, Firm, and Usia. It's not exactly light reading. Look, Kim, powerful communist theory, rigorous and truthful. Usia. He enunciates the word diligently. I agree. Humanitarian sciences. It stands out. Not a lot of critical theory around in Revachol West. Your incendiary remark has failed to provoke him. It's making a strong comeback, after all. Kids dig this stuff. There's plenty of it in the student's room at the apartment building. He nods. That one student did have some, yes. It's still out of the ordinary. The little books seem inconsequential next to the big pile of frivolous entertainment covering them. Critical theory books. What do you think this means? Whoever has lived here, they have some education and a certain set of interests. Interesting. A moth-bitten bedsheet keeps the window. Nice army surplus winter scarf. How's that looking? Yeah, it doesn't show up. Nothing shows up with this coat on. Still want better pants, but I guess we're rolling with it. Maybe these are pants. Nope, it's a shirt. Okay, but then... where they show up, though. Shirt is non-existent. It's there, it's a dark shirt. Maybe, I guess it sort of goes better with this. Is that what we're rolling with? But, no, I liked the brown set better. Although I have black, yeah, see, the pants don't work with this jacket. It's ridiculous is what it is. So I could just go back to my brown set, which I kind of liked. Where were those brown pants? Where were the brown... No, that was not it. There we go. Yeah, I liked that. It's a little garish. Alright, I kind of like that shirt under there. It looks a little slick. Maybe... No, what did I have other than that? Did I have just a proper tie, or... I don't know. Does it really matter? No, that tie doesn't work. We gotta pick something better than that. No, maybe I will go with this little pin. It doesn't sort of obfuscate anything. Doesn't stand out. Kind of like it. Alright, we'll roll with that for now. Looks pretty slick. Oh no, we got the generator going. We're all good there. Got some magnesium. More stuff. I'm gonna pop this, get us to full health. This great blast door must weigh over 10 tons. Rust peels off it. You see a small metal door nested inside a larger one, a heavy steel blast door. There's a conventional keyhole above the handle. It's very small. What's on the other side? Another part of the island, probably. Lieutenant looks into the keyhole. The lock looks like it could still be usable. How do we open this? He looks at the door, then at its bigger brother, then at the lock. Maybe this is one of the doors we don't open. I find us not opening it highly unlikely. Alright. Lieutenant knocks on the metal. I retract my statement. It was naive. Let's look around and get it open. That's what I thought. Green paint flakes off the monoblock aluminum cabinet. There are rows of switches on the front panel, a frequency band, and even a keyboard. Run your fingers across the keyboard. The keys rattle like teeth. This keyboard hasn't been functional in decades. What is this, then? The console of an antique computation device. Lieutenant points to the wires running into the machine. The generator upstairs with wires coming out. They terminate here. Could this open the blast door? I think yes. Let's see. He points to the emergency dial switch. That one. The emergency open. The blast door opens with a series of clicks. A cold wind blows in. You see darkness behind it. Boy. Yeah, we get it. After you. Lieutenant gestures at the opening. What's there? I don't know. A thin wisp of smoke rises from a charred black fire pit. The wind picks up, then dies down again. What if we get into another fight? Don't worry. He takes out his sidearm, checks the barrel, then holsters it again. I have a gun. I also have a gun. I know. It was not easy to acquire. That's true. His hatch is jammed shut. I got my gun in hand. It never leaves my hand anymore. Not after I blasted a guy in the face! A firing slit. You can't see inside. Must have been a direct hit to take out such a huge chunk. The distant sound of cargo ships. Signal horns echo on the water. Running around with my Glock. The winch is broken. Rust has eaten what remains of the chain. A strange feeling, looking at the water. Maybe you should just wander off into the sea. Leave it all and walk in. Why? Perhaps there's someone there, under the water, waiting for you. Where it has always been. But it's cold. Yes, cold and still. But love is warm, like the inside of her mouth. No, 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 no. Yes, 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 yes! No, no, we're not starting with that. Not now, not this time. This thought is over. Raise your sight. In the rain mirror of the bay, you see Martinez reflected. Tall edifices of ruins reach into the water like shimmering towers. And the shacks, too. Pine trees and motor lorries upside down. Islets and posts like stepping stones lead into the water in front of you. Go. Step in. It's been too long. Shake your head. Not today. Not today, nasty thoughts. The pain in your pelvis makes you wince, then you continue. The inside of the fortress. You make out the console and the blast door. Alright, we got fuel canister. A weathered artillery map showing coordinates in the Bay of Rubbishall. An old medicine cabinet newly stocked with Dramamine. Don't mind if I do. There's a rain-soaked mattress on a concrete slab, only half covered by the crumbling roof. At the head of it, double embrasures, firing slits like two eyes in the wall. This looks like a good place to aim from. Lieutenant looks around. He steps closer with his hand on his gun. Inspect the mattress. A single-person mattress. Modern, civilian use. Brand name, Marjorie. There's a fuel stain on the cover, along with cigarette burns. Good place to hide. Cozy, relatively safe from the rain. He pokes the mattress. Inspect the wall. There's a firing slit in the wall in front of you, like a little window. Touch the concrete first. Quite old and grimy from years without cleaning by anything other than the rain. Look through the hole in the concrete. The springs screech as you lean on the mattress and crane your neck to look out. Trepidation, a tingling feeling in your stomach. A small piece of the Martinez coastline opens up in the square in front of you, like a tiny landscape painting, 1 kilometer across the water. The ruins look familiar. On the left. A towering skyscraper, its top floor is shaved off by artillery fire. Capeside apartments, Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A and 33B. On the right. The red chimney and collapsed back of the 4-story tenement in front of the Whirling in Rags, Rue de Saint-Ghislain 10, the doomed commercial area, and between the two. The box-shaped silhouette of the Whirling in Rags. You see the rooftop at night, the upstairs window of Clausier's room reflecting a street lamp outside. There it is. You have the line of sight to the window. Yes, there's an opening between 33A and 10. I can see to the roof. I can see it, he nods. Through the scope of a rifle, the shooter would be prone, lying on the mattress, barrel resting on the embrasure. Cheek against the cheek rest, hand on the hair trigger, on a calm day like this. Kim, I could make it. I could make that shot. Good. He pats you on the back, 3 small pats in a row. I think we have it, Detective. The origin of the shot. This is the sniper's nest. Finally. In our defense, nothing pointed here. Many, many leads pointed elsewhere. 6 people are dead. Don't beat yourself up, officer. We did not put guns in their hands or get them drunk. Lieutenant pauses. Regret comes over him. He looks north over the fortification, then adds, "We'll make up for it. Here, I feel it. Could the shooter still be here? Where?" He looks behind his back. On this island. He does not answer, just nods. With his back hunched, he looks around once more and says, "We should move. Now." We're about to get shot! Feel eyes on your back. Someone's watching, but you can't say where. Oh! Well, I got a gun in my hand. And I know how to use it. Small white flowers blossom all around you. A rubber dinghy. It's deflated. Broken. Here we go. An old man wearing tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Did you close the blast door?
I did. And you opened it. How?
I fueled the generator, then used the console.
I should have burned that console down.
He shakes his head. How did you know I was coming?
Reactionary rock and roll music playing on the water.
Told you we shouldn't play sad FM.
But you didn't say that, Kim.
I did.
Oh. We have entered a world where he said he shouldn't. It's the only world. Say nothing.
The fascists were right about rock and roll. It is degenerate, hip, gyrating mental illness music.
Nice gun you got there.
It's not nice. It's a piece of shit. Gets the job done.
What make a rifle is that exactly?
It's a Trigon 446.
Southeast Samaran made. Exotic. Must be defunct too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name springs to mind.
A Samaran rifle? How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Xinyao commune. Military aid.
He pats the rifle. It has stayed true to him. He can still make it sing. The Xinyao commune.
You heard me. It's good now. Like chalk wiped from a board.
His gaze turns inwards. He's right. Almost no one remembers there was a third metastasis of the world revolution in the Safra Empire, extinguished in '06. It's not wiped from the board. I remember it.
They wouldn't like hearing their name coming from your mouth. A damn dog.
The time will come to win his trust, comrade. It is not now. You need to take care of the gun first. Your weapon has stayed true to you. Mine has stayed true to me, too.
Yes, I bet you killed a lot of people with it, you fascist fuck. Have you come to make me one of them?
His grip on the rifle tightens.
We have come to ask you questions, nothing more.
The lieutenant puts his hand on his holster.
If you do not comply, we will take you in. Do you understand?
Another spitball lands in the ashes. That's all the answer he gives. Sir, I need you to put down that gun so we can talk further. We're with the police. Lieutenant pulls his pistol from his holster.
You're a glorified night watchman. This is a service rifle. I can only lay it down before an enemy commander of corresponding rank.
Let's, authority. Pop 2 points in there. This is a red challenge. Nice. See? I know how to play video games. The words, I am an enemy commander, sound cold as iron from your lungs. The old man still hugs his gun.
And what rank would that be, dog?
Lieutenant W. Freighter.
A big wheel of the 4th Regiment of the pederast army. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway. It's out of bullets.
The old man lays the rifle down, carelessly, then stares at it just lying there. He stares on, his wrinkled mouth moving without a sound, a strange sadness, like a song. Let it be. The old man pulls back the hood of his plastic cape and looks up into the sky. Those words the future teaches you. Real music, real prolet cult. He nods. That's La Revacholier, not your rock and roll misanthropy. Chanson des Soldats of the Black and Whites. Marching song. Forget about that for a moment. You need to address that remark first. I'm not a misanthrope. I'm a half-dead police officer who's just doing his job. Job of a shitlicker. I know La Revacholier. It's the marching song of the World Revolution. There you go. His eyes remain fixed on the sky as he sighs and adds, one of 3. In Grad they sang Brave Children, favorites of history, and in Xinyao it was... He struggles to remember, then gives up. Some Samaran shit, I guess. How does it go, the song? How did it go? He looks at his gun on the ground and shakes his head slowly. Something about shooting rabbits. I don't know. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It's gone now. Who are you? My name, he looks across the water, then back at you, is Yosef Lilianovich Dros, political commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol. I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender. His eyes turn to the reeds again, dead and dull. The Commune of Revachol? Lieutenant forgets to close his mouth. Do you mean the ICM? You're a holdover from the... from the Insulindian Citizens Militia, the Army of the Revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in '07, trained in the École de Contrôle Aérien, and consigned to emergency defense duties in '08. I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen. Still armed and ideologically trained, I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties. 51 minus 8 equals 43. Been on this island for 43 years. No. He looks into the fire. A wisp of smoke rises from somewhere between the charred logs. I've been on other islands too. I was on Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was on E48, a nameless sound, until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was, he thinks, 22 years ago. Again, you've been hiding here for 43 years. 43 years and 10 months. That's steadfast. It's not how a human being should live, but I had to. He grimaces, clearly in pain. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw. He just couldn't. He couldn't give up. He nods. But he can now. What have you been doing during all this time? Hiding, fishing, waiting. He looks across the water. Where night falls, hydrogen street lamps burn on Rue de Saint-Ghislain, golden light casting black shadows. Further inland, in Jamrock, the street grid appears black. Unlit avenue after unlit avenue. Alto-cumulus clouds form above Precinct 41. 2 police officers step out of the Whirling in Rags cafeteria. Satellite Officer Jean Vicamere inspects giant letters across the plaza mosaic in dark red government-marked heavy fuel oil. Patrol Officer Judith Minot points west. The fishing village. She glances her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing, still smelling of petroleum. One day, it says, I will return to your side. Always waiting. The old man turns his eyes from the shore and back to you. For what? For her to return. Her who? Girl-child revolution. Girl-child revolution. Always. She better come. I too have given my life to Mazovian socioeconomics. A waste, he blinks his black eyes. The material base for an uprising is eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind and themselves. The historic opportunity for a revolution is past. It will not come back anymore. However hard I try, whatever I do. What has he done? Perhaps a confession will lighten the load. What have you done then? Yes, what? To get things going again. Lieutenant steps closer. Fan the flame? There's no flame to fan. He stares right through at him, blinking his dark eyes. There's nothing left of the world, of our dreams. You said you deserted your unit. I was just 16 years old. 15 when I was volunteered. I had a lapse of faith when I was volunteering. I had a lapse of faith, he clears his throat, and of courage, too. Lapse of faith. You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat, and thought Mazovian socioeconomics was fallible. For a second I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took. For what? For reaction to take hold. It wasn't reaction, you were just afraid. It's the same thing. You haven't seen it. Not really. Not naked. It's impossible not to be afraid. It remains unclear what it is. He makes leaps he doesn't expect you to follow. And this was when? Lieutenant instinctively looks to his notebook, but does not take it out. May the 13th, '08, 44 years ago. He looks north. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds. Storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic. Dark magic. The combined might of international capital all at once. All the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower. He gestures toward it. Huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in Ozone, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash. So I said I was going to the map room. He looks east. Terrible shame, still within him. The lobes of his ears are red with it, the shame and smallness of what he became. You didn't go to the map room. No. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers there, like the weakest of the weak, A mouse. Frightened of the ordnance all night and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring. Thith, thith, thith. He looks at the sky. What was that? Airships. I climbed out. He closes his eyes. Into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too. Shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels, or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. He opens his eyes and stares right through you. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality. Seen what? The mask of humanity fall from Capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone. Everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in the world. In the word. It has to take it off just for 1 second. To do the deed. And then you see it. As it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. He's silent for a second. You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know. What? That the bourgeois are not human. I've always suspected the same. Now is not the time, Lieutenant Euphrater, the lieutenant says gently. I had to. I had to fight it. I could not stop anymore. The old man falls silent. His black eyes keep piercing your skin as he looks to some great distance behind you, shaking his head slowly, retreating from it. What is this place, this island? It's not an island, droid. He looks around. It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol, and I am its last surviving defender. What was it used for? The congenitally deformed King Philippe II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the fort with an AA gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world. You mean the landing, retaken in Revachol. Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow. He winces. I later found out on the radio, they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone. Murderers. I know what you mean. You don't know. You haven't seen it. He shakes his head slowly. Iblis. Iblis. The black-eyed angel, he nods. Shaitan. Ahura, the darkened one. How have you survived all this time? How does anyone survive? He looks at his worn running shoes. I steal. Now hold on there. That's a choice. You could have become self-employed. Create the system. You're insane and grotesque. Everyone steals. Vegetables. Supplies. It's the life of a dog. He coughs once more, then puts his hand on his belly. How is your health, Mr. Dross? I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stool, too. The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over. I need to die. A droll smile stretches across his mouth. You don't have medical facilities, you have guns. That's all they give you, toy guns. We have Dramamine and other opioid-based painkillers. You must be in pain. A light goes on in his eyes. He smacks his dry lips. I have been running down to that stuff. This is a serious situation. You need to be looked over, and we can do it. There's nothing to look over. The triage is in, and it's black. Administer morphine. Moribund. How have you coped mentally? I haven't. I have holes in my brain. Years missing, others filled with pain only. A decade of... His eyes roll into his skull and back. I don't know what. Inferno. You notice the lieutenant is about to say something. I would imagine it gets tremendously difficult, mentally, to live in isolation. Traitors. It's better alone. He nods towards Martinez. I watch the people of the city turn the lights back on, more and more each year. Ruins, glimmering in the dark like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting. He looks down at his shoes. His face parched from the sun and the wind. There's a wince of pain in there somewhere. Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on? How have you concealed yourself all these years? It was hard in the tens. He shakes his head. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds. He closes his eyes. Floodlights on the water at night. There were posters, campaigns. We communards still hoped, and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Coal City were turned to dust. He looked south. But Jamrock, Faubourg, even Koran, And Boogie Street, of course. Those fucking Kips had Mazov coursing through their veins. And others, too. Some cordons of Revachol were still fighting. There were cells. I tried to contact them. He shakes his head. Soon they all went silent. The frequencies, dead. How did you get between here and the mainland? At night I used a dinghy. He nods toward the deflated tire in the reeds. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city I stayed underground. Patrols. You lot. The commons, too, they'd started snitching. In the city you move underground. From bunker to bunker. He nods. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted. I just... He falls silent, his gaze fixed on the shacks huddled together across the river. Across the water. Why don't you just walk there? I don't want to. They're all traitors. Pigs, rabbits, and dogs. Men without ideals are only animals. He does not want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing. There's a small bunker under the Feld building. Have you stayed there? The propaganda bunker? He coughs. I used to, but not anymore. Propaganda bunker? They stored leaflets there, broadcasting equipment too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys. Killed themselves. A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them. He stares at the ruins of the Feld building. No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins on the ground. Tell me another thing. The old man looks inland, at the city, the ruins, the motorways rising above it, the new bâtiments twinkling in the night sky. You said this is your termless surrender. You're with the RCM. He waves in your general direction. The coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Revachol. A so-called Lieutenant W. freighter. We enforce the law. We keep these animals from killing each other. He stares at the embers, then into your eyes. You're the RCM. You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity, who took this city. I represent their adversary, the Parti Communiste Insulin. Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity. His hand shakes and he breaks into a coughing fit. Rene, the royalist on the coast, said, You never signed the Revacholian Instrument of Surrender. Liberal reactionaries signed that instrument. Traitors who should have been burned alive. He draws his breath. I answer to the Communist Party. Is that part of why you've been here all this time? Because the party didn't surrender. If the party had surrendered, then it would not be the party. Honorable. Honor is a feudal atavism. He looks at the fire pit. My motive is class. So you're a communist soldier from the communist army? No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army. But you said you were trained and assigned to the Defense Corps. Trained, he nods, in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something. Wait, what does a political commissar do? The old man does not answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs. Lieutenant speaks softly. His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follows the ideology of the commune. Scientific communism. The tracksuit-clad old man is suddenly reanimated. A commissionaire politique is a knight philosopher of the revolution, a future human. That means you're a trained communist, right? He nods slowly, then another tremor. I'm also a communist. No, you're not, he coughs. You're a liberist. Liberist? A liberal and a pederast. It's what most liberals are. I'm not a liberal, I told you I'm a communist. Detective, Lieutenant gives you a stern look. We have not come here to discuss ideology. He then turns to the old man. We have come to ask questions regarding a murder investigation. The old man spits into the fire pit. He does not say anything more. A jitter passes his lower body. I have another serious question for you. There's nothing serious in this world. He looks at the gun lying on the ground. It's a farce. Ooh, god damn. I have no composure. What have you been using this gun for? I've used it for killing people. Killing people? It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism. Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people. Interesting, Lieutenant nods. During or after the war? There is no after the war. He shakes his head and smiles, his teeth rotten black. Class war is never over. So he's continued killing after hostilities ended. Okay, okay. Going straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. No, be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal. I know you want to tell me. Have you killed anyone with that gun in the last week or two? Wait a minute. Wait, so which one do I say then? Nothing comes to you. Silence. His black eyes look at you. And in them, a chill, like electricity running up your spine, crawling into your skull. What? All is not as it seems. Detective. Lieutenant turns to you with well-disguised impatience. Alright, I know you want to tell me. Have you killed anyone with that gun in the last week or two? I don't want to tell you anything, you grotesque murderer. And why did you think that was a good idea? Don't listen to me. I'm wrong all the time. Did you use that gun to shoot and kill a colonel of the security contractor Krenel? Who now? He leans in and cups his ear. He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it again. This is dramatic flair on his part. Right choice. We're in. Do it, sire. His name was Lely. He was part of a security detail here in Martinez. Oh yes, that one. He looks up to the sky and clacks his tongue. Ugly piece of work, that boy. Did you kill him? The lieutenant takes a sudden step toward him. I am a son of a welder and an officer of the commune of Revachol. He spits a big one at the lieutenant's feet. I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime. Exhaust him with proof. Pile it all on him. Get a confession. The scent of blood in the air, but what else? There was something you can't remember. We've done the ballistics. The shot came from this island. I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascies. A jitter passes him. Did you like the view? You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete specifically meant for a top faller to use, and you had a long-range rifle in your possession. Lieutenant softens his voice. You've been here a long time, Mr. Droz. Too long. You need medical aid. I'm ready to die. The man interrupts him, then coughs. I've done my part. He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascies, or fascist, done his part. You said fascies. You're admitting you killed him. You're sad for your Fasca brother, aren't you? One twig got broken, now the other is sad. He waves his hand. There's a twitch, then one more, right in his right eye. Almost. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments. Anything. Come on, what am I forgetting? Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells. The dried Maybells on Clausier's roof. Oh, yes. There were Maybells in the grass when you got here. They're revolutionary symbols from the war. Nothing else comes up. You see the lieutenant watch you try to simulate thought processes by hitting yourself. Officer, a word? He gestures to talk to you on the side. Excuse us for a moment, Mr. Droz. Honorable one, you have accumulated a substantial amount of honor points on your life path. You are a man most virtuous. Wait, there are honor points? Of course there were honor points. Did you think no one was paying attention to all your honorable deeds, Honorable One? I only try my best. It's the most any of us can do. Oh, the modesty on this one. Another 10 honor points for you, sir. You're on the fast track to becoming one of the rarest, most revered of all police officers. An honor cop. My honor's my life. Yes, your deeds have spoken for you, Honorable One, but to fully drape oneself in an eternal cloak of honor, a ritual must be completed. A rite of honor. Even among the honorable, only the most dignified are deemed worthy. But you, O Honorable One, have excelled in honor. Honor comes from deep within you, and to truly know oneself, to know one's honor, one must reach deep within oneself and touch one's honor. Okay. You need to bring the thumb of your right hand, your sword hand, to your rectum, and stick it in there to form the arch of honors. Fuck it. All I ever wanted was to live with dignity, to die with honor. Stick your thumb in your ass. What are you doing? Lieutenant jumps away from you. I'm honoring myself, Lieutenant. I can see that, but you have to do it where everyone can see you? He looks shocked. Have you no self-control? Then realizing the naivete of the question, he looks at the ground. Please spare me this sight. Lieutenant is a noble man, but he does not know honor like you and I do. Best not to waste time trying to explain. Lead by example. Congratulations, Honorable One. You have become a member of a noble faculty. A man kneels, an honor cop rises. Go forth and commit even more honorable deeds, and should your resolve ever waver, remember the right of honor. It will always cleanse a man's soul. It is an honor to serve with you, Honor Cop. Alright, thought complete. Oh, this was the pale thing. The lone vector stretches in your mind's eye into the wild pale yonder, for an unimaginable distance, forgetting, until you can no longer remember anything. No cities, no mountains, no oceans. And finally, no vector. Nothing remains. A blank space with no point of reference, where only one type of motion is possible. The motion of a human throat, swallowing. And then it comes to you. To reach the end of the motorway south is to be unborn. You've had this thought before while aimlessly wandering the streets of Jamrock. A lost piece of the man you were. A dark hope. Huh. Okay. Oh, this only takes 20 minutes. They say nameless heroes need no credit. Doing the right thing is reward enough. But deep down, an honorable man knows there will be a reward. Oh yes, the honorable shall inherit the world, and you, Comte d'Honneur, will lead the charge with your thumb held high. What you need is a creed, an oath, a great oath of honor. Flex your honor glance, see if you can come up with something. Hell yeah, baby, let's get honorable. Alright.
I think we may have this.
Lieutenant whispers, then gives the suspect a short glance. Do you think he did it? He nods. From nothing to this in a day, a crooked little smile. This is good, Lieutenant, your freighter. We just need a confession first, and then maybe a solid motive later. I'm trying to get him to confess. Yeah, it's good going. That should be our first priority. How do you think the questioning is going? Good, he nods. We're doing very good. He wants to confess. I can see that. We just need to pile it on a little more. The more we have on him, the closer he is. You hear that? He thinks you're this close. What am I missing? What haven't I done? Well, I can think of one thing. The gun. He smiles very politely. We should pick it up and discuss it in front of him. Make a show of it. Okay, let's do this. Remember, the lieutenant whispers. He wants to tell us, but he doesn't want to help us. He needs to look like we already have everything. There's palpable excitement in his tone. He likes him for this, a lot, but there's something more, too. He thinks the deserter has more than just this case in him. 44 years here. You think he has more than this case? Oh, yes, he nods. And he hasn't spoken to anybody in a long time. If we get him open, who knows what'll pour out. Pat him on the back. Alright, pick up the
Millions
gun.
of capital. What do you want?
His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire. Inspect it closer. The rifle's in a shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm made of walnut. On the butt you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Triangong 4.46mm, made in Sinyao. As he said, it's a Triangong made in his Sinyao. Doesn't matter if it was made in Shanti. All it has to do is use jacketed ammunition. And it does. This uses jacketed ammunition, 4.46. Right type and the right caliber. Lieutenant nods, glancing at the gun. He's liking this. Stow the gun. The old man keeps following your motions with his gaze. His left arm twitches suddenly. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It can be used against him, later. One more time, Mr. Drost, the Colonel. We need to talk about you killing him. Petty bourgeois law, he snorts and spits. This is all you care about, right? The only thing in the world for you types. That's right, pile it all on him now. 3 should do it, maybe 4. There were maybells behind the victim's window. Show him the dried flower. Damn maybells. He looks at the blossoming field behind you. The whole island is turning white with them. He seems tender suddenly, nostalgic even. A strange mood swing. So many this year, too. The spring is coming. No, it's already here. Wash the filth away. I haven't seen these flowers anywhere else in Martinez. Only here. They blossom on the islets before. We fertilize them with our blood. He looks to the water. Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it. South, The Bay of Martinez is dotted with little frecklets of islets, turning green, with white flowers and white snow. The coast, too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with. A young woman called Clausier. Ring any bells? These dried flowers were behind her window. Clausier. He repeats the name with care, as if it were at risk of breaking. He knows her, but hadn't heard the name. Yes, Clausier. You hadn't heard her name, had you? My ears don't reach the city. You like that name, don't you? She had intimate relations with the victim, the mercenary. With the victim. He turns his sight from the whitening field of flowers and falls silent. Then the muscles in his jaw twitch. A spasm. Almost. But you need one more. Just one. Or maybe two. I don't need your cooperation. I've got this. Heh. Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there? It's a real gun. He points to your sidearm. Not like your little musketeer pistol. I've seen you prance around with that, jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons? He chortles. Going against automatic rifles with these toy guns. Of course you got those boys killed. Damn, he saw you. He's watched it happen. So he saw you, okay. So what? Don't let it divert you. Stop changing the subject. We have the murder weapon. You know what? The lieutenant looks at it. The weapon demonstratively. You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it? I'm calling it. We have the murder weapon. Good. Lieutenant takes out his notebook and draws a single line. This feels good, doesn't it? Tying things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer. Murder. The old man does not say more. He just glances into the wreaths and then twitches once more. He suddenly jerks to life. You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer, armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer, dripping with blood. He was a soldier, too. He was a man. Beating us to the ground, moaning with joy. He breathes in with strange animation. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner. Got your attention. He looks you dead in the eye, pupils shaking. Now you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds. He breathes through flared nostrils. This is it. Shot him, say shot him, and not killed him. So you shot him. Oh, the inhumanity. He closes his black eyes. One paramilitary less in Revachol. You can almost see him squeeze a tear out of his eye. His fists begin to tremble from the anger. Lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush, he does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling. Hold your breath. I had them in my sights, both of them, him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth. He begins to smile. I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death and that stupid look on his face. The smile quivers, and his dick still in her. Then what? Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white, or what's left of it anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own. And so they did. The lieutenant just looks at him for 1, maybe 2 seconds, then breaks the silence. Mr. Droz, are you aware you're confessing to murder? Yes. A single word is all he gives. Lieutenant takes out his notebook, slowly, very slowly. And you were looking at them, the victim and a young woman having sex, through the scope of your rifle that night before you shot him. The old man nods. Why? Because that's what they were doing. He shrugs, then smacks his lips. The motive. This is where the motive is going to come from. You can coax it out of him. The lieutenant's preparing the ground. I don't understand. He turns to you. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part. Why were you looking at them that night? I'm always looking. He cocks his head to the side, then turns his eyes to the city. Another tremor passes his left side, lower in intensity. Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle? He explains. I'm just trying to understand. A rifle's scope has the best magnification. And if you don't like it, click. You pull the trigger. Yes. He looks you in the eye. Think of it as a form of critique. He will not stop now. These dialectical materialist types never do. Exploit it. You got him going. Connect every little piece now. Wrap this up like a gift. Start with when he first saw him. It'll give him a chance to ramble. When did you first see the deceased? 3 weeks ago, when the rich hag came in on her galley. Her honor guard came in tow. Joyce. He means Joyce. By that you mean Joyce Messier, the Wild Pines rep. Wrinkled up whore, he nods. Moving on, the victim arrives sometime after. He nods toward the city. They moved into a deserted apartment above the roundabout. Radio equipment out for all to see. Reactionary radio playing. Sloppy and drunk. I've seen their kind during the landing. Those Occidental and Mesk phalangs weren't conscripts. Boys like us. They were whites. All they know is to destroy and hurt. Whites. Barely alive. They like to kill while they're on their drugs. After the landing, in the burning years, I would take shots at them. End them. The worst ones. If I had a bullet to spare. I could see they've returned now, to show their real face. The face they don't dare show their bourgeois voters back on Monday with their families in polyester clothes. What specifically did you not like about what you saw the night of the murder? Them fucking. He looks at the charred wood. I didn't like that. So you were jealous. Jealousy is a reactionary concept. I didn't like the Reaver enjoying himself. Drugged out, soothed in the arms of a young woman. I wanted him to die so he could not enjoy life anymore. For him to stop reacting to stimuli, to be broken off from the world, cordoned into darkness. And I wanted her to see his head explode. He nods. That too. She should know better than to hold a child murderer between her thighs. I knew he'd be there for one more second, writhing. That's all it takes for the bullet to reach his head. He squints. Now that I think of it, I wasn't aiming for his mouth. I wanted his brains to spill out on her, but... He shrugs. You can't have everything. He wants to see her covered in blood. The Punisher. You wanted to punish her, so you killed him. You practically breastfed that man. You wouldn't believe the things she let him do to her. He shakes his head and stares at the ashes. You stare at them too. In your mind, her innocence day still turns to leave. Airport bag in hand, silks flowing in her wake. This has got nothing to do with that. It's no good, Harry. Her voice rings in the evening air. It smells of burning buildings. I'm not like that. I don't think like that. No one gives a shit what you think. The old man spits in the ash. You and your cronies kill 10 working class men a day. I've heard the statistics on Channel 8. How long had you been watching her? Since she came to Martinez. I saw her sneaking in the reeds early in the morning, behind the Feld building. It was dark, still winter. She didn't have her skimpy outfit on then, just a spot in the night, moving. Past the Feld building on the coast. What was she doing there? Hiding something in the water. She had a fag after she'd done it. I was up... It's okay to say that's a cigarette. It's alright when you say it that way. I was up in the ruins there. She couldn't see me, but I could see her. Smoking. She was nervous, but not scared. What do you think she hid there? Her passport. Tickets to Villers. He coughs. And from there to Kasherburn. In the free state of Semine, hidden away at the edge of the earth, near the Pale. Some kind of hidden container on the coast. You looked into it. Yes, after she'd gone. It was a submersible. Well made, actually. Sloppy, we should have gotten her to tell us about this. Lieutenant mutters to himself. Did you take the documents? No, I put them back. Why would I take them? I'm not going to fall. He seems confused momentarily. Moving on, did you continue watching her after this? I did. He almost smiles. She had a face like an archipelago with those birthmarks. She had a face like an archipelago. God damn. And a body, hard and lean and bruised all over. Black and yellow. I could see she's taken a beating. I could see who she was, too, he nods. A spook. On the run. Revishal's the cloaca of capital now. All the bagmen and arms dealers end up here. To do drugs and have sex like animals. You could tell she was a spook from the documents. She had different color hair on the photo and glasses. Forged. Some sordid bourgeois affair. I've heard about this kind of thing on the radio. The bruises. You can't make that out in a scope. And you can see her bruises through the scope of a rifle. Can't see bruises at a scope. It's just a blur. He shakes his silver gray head. How did you get close enough to see the bruises, Mr. Dross? I have my ways. A cracked smile appears on his dried white lips. What ways? Tell me. Not in this lifetime, droid. He waves you off with a cough, his thoughts elsewhere. On her. This one's gone. Make up somehow. Connect something else fast. He lost it. One little missed thing and I drown in anxiety. Rightly so. Fix this now. Push on extra carefully. You had feelings for that woman. He sighs, there's nothing to hold on to, only this. It's not enough. Man needs to feel something else. It helps if you have your eye on something. There. He looks to the city where the lights sparkle. Something pretty. Its weakness, I know. There have been others? Yes, over the years. It's not unproletarian to feel something. Was that why you left the dried flowers behind her window? No. He starts to shake his head again. A sunflower on a withered stalk. Why then? I don't really know. I was there one night and she was crying, like a child, in the corner of her room on the floor, like she does sometimes. When was this? Day after I'd killed him. And you brought her Maybells? Yes, he looks at the charred logs. I don't know why I do the things I do anymore. You wanted to console her. Maybe. He lowers his head and just stares at the logs. I told you, I have holes in my brain now. I wouldn't just sit here waiting for you. If you came 10 years ago, I would have killed you. He wipes his eye. In the silence, the lieutenant draws a line in his notes. One more down. So in conclusion, it wasn't about him. It was about her. Her, he repeats, staring at the ashes, then the reeds. There's a twitch in the corner of his eye. The lieutenant nods at you in acknowledgement. That's it. Motive. We have it. The old man looks at you suddenly, remembering something. Where is she? That closet. I haven't seen her there for days. Ha! She got away. We don't know where she is. Good for her. He looks to the city and nods. That girl kept staring into the scope, you know, in the end. This last week, kept staring at the island. At night, crying or smoking on the roof, like she knew I was here. He says to no one in particular. It doesn't matter. Midtown, across the Bay of Revachol, cold rain falls on 40-story towers. Above them, Lausanne Central Aerodrome, a cocoon suspended in the gray sky by a web of suspension wiring, circled by hybrid aircraft. Shake it off. On the platform, a young woman is withdrawing from amphetamines, barbiturates, and alcohol. Yet still she smiles among the crowd, fading from your mind's eye. Across the water on a dilapidated jetty in a nameless village, made of gray cinder block houses with eternite roofs, 2 police officers and 1 special consultant look across a narrow strip of sea. He's there, doing what exactly, I don't know. Satellite Officer Vicamere points at the ruins. Behind that anti-aircraft something. That's why we can't see him. Special Consultant Heidelstam is optimistic. We'll see the boat when he comes. Let's go get a coffee until then. I know this interesting little place where... His voice trails off as the 3 walk down the jetty. As the men go, Patrol Officer Minot looks back over her shoulder at the crumbling fortification in the rain, like a rotten tooth rising out of the water. Good luck, Harry, she thinks. You need something good for this. If we could get more, Lieutenant uses the opportunity to tell you in a lowered voice. We've got him talking. Who knows what he's seen and done over the years? You could get more out of him. He likes talking. Been looking at anything else you haven't liked? A tragicomedy. He shakes to life. Druggies, prostitutes, and rentiers. More specifically? Specifically, the whole city is a charnel house, stripped clean and draped in neon. But Martinez. He shakes his head in grave disgust. Martinez is the worst. How come? Because of the racists. Everyone is a racist in Martinez. It's their favorite thing to do in the whole world. Listening to race-themed radio shows. In the ruins, in their lorries, he points inland. Pumped full of steroids and Radio Revachol 92. Race this, race that. It's all sanctioned by that Social Democratic Union and the farce of a Social Democrat who runs it. Mr. Clare. Yes, the fly larva in his container. He let some nihilistic advertising yuppies erect a statue of Philippe III, a syphilitic murderer on the town square, to spit on the working class. Let him finish. Do not interrupt. Not since the serfs of ancient Pericarnassus has history produced a more inert social class than the Martinez proletariat. The rest of Revachol at least pretends to rebuild. These people still live in ruins. Intense, like animals. He points to the church. Like those boom-boom morons in the ice. A pity they didn't drown in that tent of theirs. Keeps shaking his head with sorrow for the sight he missed. That all? The worst of them is the blood-drenched Sucreant on her yacht, licking her lips. The old whore's gone now. Her gun-toting porcelain men are dead. So, actually, no. The worst is that old cock parading around in his uniform, throwing balls all day. It's not enough that the racists and liberals are dancing on our graves. The loyalist ghouls still parade the ruins, too. Every morning he's there, while the parasites he fought to protect are off in Ozone or Croyant Moraine or some other island they've built their palaces on, feeding on drugs and having sex with their own children. Say nothing. That's all the rich really want, sex with their own children. Throughout history, even the royal bloodline of the suzerain, it's all just an excuse for them to have sordid sex. At least that old cunt Frizzle is now dead. Just not. We did good when we pushed him under that horse car. If only. In the 30s, those disco whores. What follows is ominous mumbling. You cannot make out a single word. The disco whores are too much. Hatred shuts down his brain's language center, leaving only a nonsensical sputter. There was something about a statue, and nihilistic advertising agency people. Might be worth investigating. There was something about the statue on the roundabout, and syphilis. Syphilis is a disease Philippe II contracted in a whorehouse. He fires quickly. Statue's an abomination. I thought it was Philippe III. Abomination. The bacteria entered his brain and made him squander trillions on sparkling wine, cocainum, and monuments of himself. His son, Philippe III the Insane, contracted syphilis in the womb. Oh, okay. He breathes in with a wheeze of hatred. That is technically possible, although Philippe III was not actually syphilitic, he was just mad. And he still went on to govern Revachol for 25 years. We lost 2 million lives toppling that mode of government, and those grotesque statues too, hundreds of them. But it's still there. What a keen remark, he sputters. Yes, it is, isn't it? It's still there. Do you know why? Because cynical advertising yuppies erected a deconstructed version of it. That's right. Some advertising cockroaches erected a cynical deconstruction of it. We tore it down with honest working-class plastic explosives. And there it is again. He shakes his head in disgust. Art is a bourgeois establishment. It's an affront to humanity. Every gallery should be bulldozed, and the artists should all be given 30 years of hard labor in Yekokata. Wait, it suddenly strikes you. Perhaps it was not as it seemed. Actually, it was not deconstructed so much as captured in the moment of the explosion. What are you talking about? The ancient communard cocks his head. It's not a monument to Philippe III anymore. It's a monument to the monument of Philippe III exploding. What is this madness? A dim light comes on in his eyes. Lieutenant 2 has cocked his head and is looking at you with a strange expression. It's not madness. It's a monument to what you did, to your program of destatuing Revachol. So you're saying it's a communist monument now? Not only. Yes, and furthermore, the design bureau people are probably left-wing too. They often are. We did always have the prettiest posters. Maybe you're right. His eyes filled with understanding. That is how dialectics work. But understand this, art is still a bourgeois institution. He coughs, then adds in a gravelly voice. And they should all still be sent to Yekokata. Of course, straight to Yekokata. You know, you don't sound like a liberast anymore. Maybe I was wrong. He measures you with his black eyes. Maybe I'll be escorted to prison by another Mazovian communist. As I should. As you ought to. Communism style. He gives you an acknowledging little nod. Straight to Yekokata for this old revisionist. At last, atonement for my sins. Revisionism, reactionary ideation, desertion. He still refuses to believe you subscribe to Mazovian socioeconomics, but entertaining the thought has given him some measure of solace. Camaraderie, even. For a second there, he feels less alone, but then the second passes. That's it for the statue, then. Tell me, Mr. Droz. The fat union man let him put it there, corrupt as he is. Probably got a fat check for it, too, shared with the law. You mentioned the union is social democratic, and Mr. Clare is a farce of a social democrat. Another hideous disappointment. He pokes at the ashes. Unions are the real enemy, the true enemy of the proletariat, placating the masses. Disappointment, so personal. He displays a familiarity with the union's top brass. Who's a disappointment? Everard Clare? That deformed toad? I wouldn't expect him to wipe his own ass. I mean the brains of the operation, the smart one. Doesn't Everard run the union? That mobster Toad couldn't run a shithouse. He has no political education. His twin, Edgar Clare, that one's been to one of those East Revachol University. He talks a big game about uprising and alienation and so on. He's been sweet-talked by this Edgar. They must have met in person for such animosity to have developed. We're not the first people you've met from the city, are we? You can't live alone. He stopped poking at the ash now, just shakes his head. The Clares wouldn't miss a man hidden in their own backyard, not all this time. Nothing happens in Martinez without them knowing. Of course, maybe the Clares asked him to. Don't go straight for the kill. Exhaust everything else first. Soften him up. Have you approached them? I haven't approached anyone. I've hid. It was Edgar who came to me. How did he know you were here? He didn't just stumble in like an oaf. He nods to you. He figured it out. Some kids told him about a monster on the island. I told you, he has brains. He points to the path leading to the tower. Stepped right off the boat and walked down where you came. I even kept the door open for him. Thought he was a man to the left. Wouldn't rat me out. He shrugs. I was right about one of those things. When was this? 20 years ago. Neither of them could walk now, could they? They were less fat then. That's around the time the Clares came to power. What did you talk about? Edgar did the talking. Paid his respects like I were a fossil in a uniform. Offered platitudes about the struggle. Flaunted his pink degree. Even quoted Mazov. Never trust a social democrat who quotes Mazov, he suddenly remembers. Oh, and charity, too. They loved their charity. Offered me blankets and social housing. I still have the gas cooker he brought. And he let you be here. Let me be here? He looks around. The Tsar is an unlawful successor of the commune of Revachol. We took this fortification from the Loyalists. Even the Clares understand this. They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy, but why such a courtesy? Mr. Droz, did you kill the Krenel mercenary for the Clares to incite a riot? You know why I killed that fucker, comrade. He shakes his head. As to Edgar, I'm not doing anything for that swine again. Again? What have you done for Edgar before? Tried teaching him some Mazovian socioeconomics. They didn't stick. We parted ways. He coughs. Okay, he didn't do the hangman for them, but he's insinuating something. What was the deal between him and Edgar? The connection comes to you like a splash of cold water. Dark, cold water. 20 years ago, when you met Edgar, the Clares didn't run the Union yet, did they? Heh, a sputter from the old man. He acknowledges it. Here we go. A twist, behind the dark bend. Who did? That bourgeois cow. Tiffane Holly was her name. He narrows his eyes. Licked the rich man's hand every time he came to town. Never seen a labor leader so hot on mutual cooperation. And money. She liked that too. That Holly was a real bridge builder and a deal maker. His eyes glistened suddenly with hatred. And then she just disappeared. Called in, they say, on the eve of battle. Ran away, vanished like a piss stain. He squints and smiles at the black logs. No, that's not quite it, is it? Did she? Lieutenant's voice is calm. They say her daughter called in, not her personally. But that wasn't really her daughter, was it? No, I guess it was not. You could swear you see the embers glow again under his eyes on the dust. Edgar had someone make the call. Why is that, Mr. Droz? She couldn't make the call herself. Here it is, the bend in the river. Why? Because she was dead. Just say nothing. The cow caught a bullet in her right lung, fell into the canal, grasping her tit, and drowned. Or bled, hard to say. It was a sloppy job, and a moving target. She was going home, waddling, dressed in yellow, drunk like she often was. The ruins were black around her, and she had a yellow leather bag under her arm. She tried to cross the canal. Heading home to Grand Caron or Betancourt, someplace like that, where they build those new bâtiments for the people who flourish in the hell around her, and the ruins. You shot her. Someone shot her, he shrugs. His eyes grow cold suddenly. Or maybe the cow just fell. My memory is full of holes. All I know is, nothing changed. Not in the material base, not in the hegemony. That's not how it's pronounced. Hegemony. I don't know, there's no uprising. Just words. The Union fizzled. Sogged. Nothing came of it. Nothing. Edgar didn't even keep his part of the deal. Heh. Sputter again. Nothing more. If you were to testify to this, give the RCM something on Edgar, you could walk. The lieutenant says in a voice even calmer, as if it were nothing at all. We would strike everything you've done and process you as a POW. You were in a war. You were on assignment. We could even extradite you to the Samarans People's Republic. A degenerate worker state. Goat shit. No thank you. I'm Revacholian, he spits. My days are short. I will rot away here, in a moral intern cell. I will not testify to anything. He coughs. Come on, just a little. You're buddies. You can tell a comrade. It won't be that usable. I haven't lived and fought for 40 years to end up as a collaborationist. I've heard it on Channel 8, 40 AM, and Le Canal du Crime. Everyone is a blobber in this world. Everyone betrays everyone. They're all already locked up for betrayal. The best ones, the ones with heart, were slaughtered, trampled. He looks to the city. The same old freezing hatred. There's plenty here to work with once he's in custody, and the lieutenant knows it. He gives you a little nod to proceed. By the cock parading in his colorful uniform, you mean Renee. Every fucking morning for 34 years, he grinds his teeth in rage, throwing that ball, one ball against the other. I've always loathed that game. That is not a working class game. I don't care what they say on Radio June. Royalist ghouls play it like it was life itself. Click clack, he makes the sound of balls connecting across the water each day, and that uniform, like a parrot's plumage. I won't even mention that he's traitor to his race. A patank maniac race traitor. Just nod. I remember him. He points to his black eye. I remember him from La Noche. Not him personally. His make and model. There were tens of thousands of them. I thought we took them all out before the liberals came to their rescue. We missed one. With his shaky finger, he points to the city, toward the crater near the plaza where a lonely pine tree stands. That one. Fat and plump, like a pheasant, just begging to be popped off. A grin stretches across his face, and he whispers, Please, Mr. Dross, shoot me. You'd like to kill him? The smile lingers. Not yet. I'd like to look at him strut around, place the crosshair on his medals, right on his face, and just fiddle the trigger. Think about it. Let the bonbon melt in my mouth. Save the treat for later, Lieutenant asked cheerfully. He is a juicy bonbon, that one. A real treat. For the black day. The blackest. When I put that gun in my own mouth, I think, no, don't waste it. Put this lead in that cock, Renee. For the boys he killed. And then I look at him throw those balls, and I suddenly feel... He lets out a wistful sigh. Better. I even hid one bullet so I'd always have one. For him. The lines on his face straighten as he looks inland. Haven't seen him there lately. Must be down with arthritis. Old cunt. Momentarily he's worried for him. He reminds him of himself. The same hatred. The same... You try to think of another thing, but no, it's just the hatred. Disco whores. Whores is all he says. Even that word is to be pushed through his teeth with great force. The rage seethes too hard. Glad we talked about this. Glad. It's all gone. He stares into the dust at his feet. Gray and dirty spring grass all around. No, okay. Well, I might as well try and assess his body language. For a 60-year-old man with stomach trouble who spent his entire life alone on an uninhabited island, he seems surprisingly fit. That's it. He's prone to erratic hand gestures and clearly malnourished, but that's it. You can see no more by looking at his slouched frame. The moment passes and you say... I say put a point into composure. Still 3%, god damn. Put a point into composure. 8%. God damn it, I think that's all my points. Pretty close to another point, though. Alright, fuck it. Yosef Lilianovich Dross, you're under arrest for the murder of the colonel here in Martinez. What? The old man's eyes filled with sudden, unexpected terror at the words. But you said I would be taken to the... The wind picks up. The silence on the water is broken all around you. Little shivers of waves appear. Lieutenant continues like an incantation. Your wayfarer rights have been suspended. Information provided to the officers on the scene will be used against you by the prosecution. You will be given legal counsel within 1 week and must face court in 44 days. Do you understand? Do you understand? But, do you understand, sir? No, I don't want to. I have to stay here. He looks at the reeds, eyes submerged in growing terror. Your confirmation is not required, sir. Lieutenant turns to you. Now, onto the boat. Fuck. Wait. No, you thought you heard something. It was just the reeds. Maybe we could all fit in there, Lieutenant says. First aid does have room for 3. Not really. He shakes his head. We could just escort him to the pier, then either one of us could take him inland while the other stays here, but then who watches him while you're coming back here? Who watches him while they come back for you? You come back for me, how about I go and send a boat back for you? What is this farce? He looks around with strange desperation. This is a fucking farce. I can't... Lillian. You could ask her, maybe. Maybe I could just ask that net picker to watch him. This is no harmless old man. Lieutenant shakes his head. This fucking world. He stares at something, who knows what, in the dust. This world, what is this? Below the confusion and rage, a fit of jamais vu, like yours. The thought passes. More pressing matters take its place. You could come back for me once you've taken him to the precinct. No, it would take a whole day on this island. You go and transport the prisoner, I'll be here. I can escort him to the pier with you. No need to be polite, I'll do it. This world. The old man repeats, what are you talking about? Is this... His voice drowns out in a sudden gush of wind. Us. The wind is cold. From the east. Your skin is crawling suddenly. What the fuck? Oh my god! A delicate tangle of arms and legs unfolds from the reeds, limb by limb, to then just stand there, moving its scythe-like arms in ghostly silence. Blink. It's still there, an unfolding mechanism of reed-like chitin, hovering in place. What is that? The old man looks at the reeds, then at you. What are you talking about? Giant stick insect! He looks confused. There's nothing there. The stick insect is over 3 meters tall. It looks straight at you with its tiny pinprick eyes and its grotesquely small head. You feel your legs shaking under you and your gun hand rise instinctively. There it is! I see it! Tell me what you see, damn it! I can't make out one small thing in the reeds. Kim, can you see it? I can see it. 4 simple words. Thank God. If he can see, then you're not insane. But that means it's really there, spinning slowly in absolute silence, its limbs long and slender. Be very, very careful, Lieutenant whispers, then takes a step toward the giant anthropod. Alright, I'm gonna end off here. Yeah, I mean, that was a fuck ton of dialogue, I know. But I really wanted to, like, get through his whole thing before ending. Alright. That's some crazy shit. We'll tackle that next time. Maybe literally. My name is Mangg. Game watching has been Disco Elysium. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.